So today we're going to be talking about something really kind of a bit weird. And I've been looking through a couple of videos and I've sent a few of them on. And it's based on a lot of like high school All-Americans. Some of the stuff that they're saying when talking about players. And the exact same things that they're saying why player A is better than player B for Caitlin Clark when it was the Paige Beckers conversation is now in the same thing with Angel Reese. And I also looked at one of these, I think it might have been from the All-American or it might have been from the EYBL camp, but it's the same people. One person said Caitlin Clark was better. I don't know if it was in the Paige Beckers or the Angel Reese conversation, but just said Caitlin Clark. Prefaced it with, I need to apologize to my coach. She's not going to be happy, but Caitlin Clark. So this is a really, really weird one because we've obviously, a lot of people have seen the politics comments. And I'm not going to show the video because, again, these are 18-year-olds. At the end of the day, this is talking about not necessarily the take in general, but why the take is happening. But it's just a weird one. But it seems like players, to an extent, are almost being indoctrinated in, like, you need to despise this one player. Because some of these takes were from right after the LSU game. But before we get on to anything more, if you guys are interested in men's basketball, subscribe. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the day. We are 73 off. And again, if I'm flying off to Leeds in a few hours. If we get 100 subscribers by the time I'm back in the hotel, I will make a video. If not, I will sleep. But we have got the same player that said, if Caitlin Clark wins Rookie of the Year, it's because of politics. When she was asked about who was better, Paige Beckers or Caitlin Clark. And this, by the way, was right after the LSU game. This is right after Caitlin Clark had 41 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds against LSU. I need to just see what her shooting splits were. This was the day after. So Iowa won this game by 7 points. And based on the box score, Angel Reese, by the way, Angel Reese had a really good game that day. I thought she was Flaw J at 23, but I did think Angel Reese was especially considering she went off hurt, I thought she was really, really good. But Caitlin Clark was 13 of 29, 9 of 20 from 3. So she had 41 points from 29 shots, which is still pretty good. But shooting 9 of 20 from 3 is crazy. Like, that is crazy percentages. That is crazy. As well as 12 assists. And when these players were asked who they would take, Paige or Caitlin Clark, they all said Paige Beckers, which, you know what, Paige is incredible. I don't even have any issue with that. But, like, the reasoning is hilarious. Paige Beckers, every single one of them said, Paige Beckers is better than Caitlin Clark because Paige Beckers is a better playmaker. And also, then the same girl that said that Caitlin Clark is only going to win Rookie of the Year by politics a few months ago said, the day after, by the way, Caitlin Clark had a 41-point game where she beat LSU. My camera has frozen, but you can still see the correct expression. But what she said was, she said that the reason Caitlin Clark is not as good is because Caitlin Clark is an inefficient shot chucker that's the logic, was Caitlin Clark is an inefficient shot chucker. And this is right before the UConn game. So this is what she said after Caitlin Clark had 41 points to beat LSU. And this is, by the way, this is an LSU team who won the championship the year before and added Anissa Morrow and Hailey Van Lith. They added Anissa Morrow and Hailey Van Lith. A 5-star Hailey Van Lith and a 5-star, I think, in Anissa Morrow. Either way, a top 5 pick probably in this year's draft. And then Caitlin Clark went and beat them. The LSU were massive favourites to win that game. Massive favourites. But they ended up losing. And then the next day, there's no player that watched that game and thought Caitlin Clark is an inefficient shot chucker. That has to be a coach getting into a player's head. It does. And you might be saying, oh, this is a whole, like, politics issue. It's Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. It's one side or the other. No, this isn't even a conversation about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. It's Caitlin Clark and Paige. And the answer is, during their Iowa careers, where Caitlin Clark never took more than 21 shots in a game and averaged 30 points, she was one of the most efficient scorers we'd ever seen. In fairness, Paige Becker's efficiency might have been better because she didn't take as many crazy shots. But to call Caitlin Clark, nobody watched Caitlin Clark. Nobody can watch Caitlin Clark at Iowa and call her an inefficient shot chucker. The only way you can have that thought, especially in Iowa days, is if your coach is Cheryl Swoops, or your coach is listening to Cheryl Swoops, or your coach is not watching these games. I'm guessing it was a guard being like, you don't want to be like this, because Caitlin Clark is so different to anything. That's probably the reason, is that Caitlin Clark is so different to anything we've ever seen in women's basketball. The job of the guards in women's basketball historically has been to pass the ball to the post players and to shoot if you're wide open. That's been it. It's never been guard dominated. And this is a player who's going to South Carolina. So, obviously, that must be what they're being told, being like, look, your job is as a guard to get the ball to the post player. Or, like, if you're like Pow Pow, your job is just to be that spot-up shooter. So, it is an interesting thing because you're seeing it from young female players. Like, there's no way, if you are a young guard, by the way, it doesn't really matter if, like, who you think is better. Especially because this has nothing to do with the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese conversation. But I've never seen a guard be so against guards as there is in women's basketball. And I'm convinced it's the coaches. I'm convinced that it's coaches trying to get even their young players to who are guards to devalue their own games. To not create the next Caitlin Clark. I think it is coaches who have been indoctrinated in a certain style of play that is going to be phased out of the WNBA. It's going to be completely phased out. And if you look at the way Paige Becker's played coming into college as a freshman, if you look at the way Paige Becker's played in high school, they're two different players. Like the way she played pre-injury, the freedom she played with, she deserved every bit of the hype. I thought she was real good last year, but she was good in a different way. She was efficient. She was making better decisions. But like, that's not what's got Paige Becker's the hype. What got her the hype was that ability to have no weaknesses in her game, to score from anywhere, to have the Caitlin Clark level swagger, for lack of a better word. Like, she hit a three and ran back and slapped Gina Auriemma in the ass, like, as a freshman. Like, she genuinely was, if she hadn't gotten injured, the conversation would have been for the number one pick between Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. I think that's how much I rate Paige Beckers. But it's funny that whether it be high school coaches or whether it be the WNBA coaches or whether it be former players, there's no appreciation for the flair. There's no appreciation for doing something out of the norm. And I think that's why Caitlin Clark has resonated so much with non-WNBA fans. It's the reason why Caitlin Clark has brought in non-WNBA fans. Because there's been players that, I actually don't think there's been players as good as Caitlin Clark, but there's been players not that much different. There's a reason why Caitlin Clark resonated with fans more than Sabrina Ionescu, even though Sabrina was exceptional. There's a reason why Caitlin Clark has resonated with non-WNBA fans more than Paige Beckers. Because every bullshit reason people want to say for Caitlin Clark being this phenomenon, all the fake reasons, not the actual reasons that she's just unbelievable, the bullshit reasons, they can all apply to Paige Beckers as well. But the reason why Paige Beckers hasn't resonated, especially post-injuries, is that her playstyle isn't that exciting anymore. As great as she is, her playstyle isn't nearly as exciting. And I'm convinced, like, these are 17-year-old, 18-year-olds asking for their opinions. And their opinion is to badmouth another player. Especially a player who's going to cook them. Like, at the time of this, for all we were concerned, Caitlin Clark could have taken her name out of the WNBA draft and played them next year and dropped 50 on her. So these players coming out of their chest calling her an inefficient shot chucker. If that's what your thought was, she's an inefficient scorer based on the last month of WNBA play, sure. Still more efficient than Enrique, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Plum, Taurasi, all of them, or the same Taurasi, but yeah, her efficiency's not the same. But There is no stat that will call Caitlin Clark in Iowa an inefficient shot chucker. There is no eye test that will call her an inefficient shot chucker. That is parroting what a coach has told you, or you're listening to Cheryl Swoops, you're listening to these people and parroting what they have told you. Because you cannot be watching these games and saying that. And the fact, again, there are people when they're asked about Caitlin Clark and Paige, is the same person that says Caitlin Clark will win because of politics. I'm fully convinced they are either listening to a coach or listening to a Caitlin Clark hate podcast, because that's the only way you can come up with the logic of Caitlin Clark will win because of politics, because Caitlin Clark got politicked out of the most obvious. No one has ever averaged 20 and 10 and not won player of the week. Caitlin Clark did it twice. And no one has ever averaged 20 and 10 and not won player of the month. Caitlin Clark did that. So she's been politicked out of awards. More so than anything. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.